안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. I am back with another return to one of those early groups that I reacted to. One of my all-time favorites now, in general, not just in K-pop, but generally speaking of music. I've decided to go back and check out Red Velvet's music video for the song Happiness. I read that this is their debut, and this is going back to 2014, so we're going quite a ways back, and this is actually when there were still 4 members of the group, so this is very introductory. This is what Red Velvet first came out with, and so I'm very curious as to what it might sound like. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be great. But let me just see. I read that initially some people were like not really sure. I guess the way they reacted to it or reviewed it, they said, well, it's kind of too early to tell with this group here, so we'll see maybe later on down the line. Well, since I kind of jumped in much later in their progress, in their path, I kind of know where it is that they ultimately ended up, so I'm gonna be comparing the early sound, debut sound, to what is sort of been identified as being characteristic of Red Velvet as an SM group. So this is Happiness.
Sometimes you gotta be bold, just rock the world. Booyah! La 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 la. Happiness! La 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 la. Are you happy? 고민은 고와 불굴한 기분 change up. 힘을 내려고 이제 wind up. 한 방에 멋진 일이 가자 straight up. 내다 style up. 기분 up 때는 내려 집중. 내가 행복하게 사는 비결을 좀 말해볼까? 그들은 정말 행복하지 않아. 기쁜 일이 멋진 일이 세계는 점점점 많은데라. 그런 머니 그런 파워 우린 관심도 끊어버린 채 올라 나는 좀 해보고 싶은 그냥 하고 말지. 고민하다가 어른이 되면 후회 많을 텐데 어제 오늘 내일도 행복을 찾는 나의 몸일기. 달라 나는 좀 긍정의 힘을 나는 빗보이지. 세상에서 내가 제일 좋다는 말. Hey hey TV 속에 싸움밖에 모르는 어른들 배. 점점 더 좋은 걸 난 나타서 행복해. 더 기분 좋은 건 내 곁에 너 있단 걸. What you wanna be? 이런 money 다른 power 그만 따따따 따라가다. 어른들이 전해 보여 그들은 정말 행복하지 않아. 기쁜 일이 멋진 일이 세계는 점점점 만들어. 그런 머니 그런 파워 우린 관심도 끊어버린 채 올라 너는 좀 해보고 싶은 그냥 하고 말지. 고민하다가 어른이 되면 후회 많을 텐데 점점 더 좋은 걸 난 알아서 행복해.
So that was a like a solid Red Velvet track. I mean, I guess yeah. If you'd never heard them before, and that's what they first came out with, then I guess I can see where some people are coming from. The choice of these styles, it kind of reminded me a lot of the Zimzalabim. It seemed to have that certain quality, with the. But this time it's pulling from some African sort of tribal rhythms, and the percussion, and even some of the pitched percussion that's in there. But it works. It's just this is one of these contrasting sort of arrangements that has worked, that will work. Of course, they have very excellent vocal performance. It's much more upbeat and much brighter and lighter, isn't it? It's like, compared to something like Psycho, right? Or sort of later on when it gets a little bit darker, like the sort of Girl Crush change, I guess, or transition. But it's fun. It's like really fun, upbeat Red Velvet. Like it works. It works really well, and they have some excellent delivery on the rap sections. Even that pre-chorus sections are pretty impressive, actually. Seems to you get sort of a mix of styles in the verse sections, and then when you get to the pre-chorus section, you have actually some pretty busy rhythms that are going on in the vocals. You get a little bit of melody, and then also there's fast rap style delivery on some of those lines, and then the actual chorus bit it's very full. There's lots of sounds, there's lots of things going on in the mix, there's lots of things going on in the vocal, but the lyric gets very minimal at that point, and you have a very just strong rhythms, and then the bass is going on. I had a very nice bridge section that's correlated with the change up in the visual. It's a visual treat, just like it always is. It's just these earlier Red Velvet music videos and songs. They're really fun. Like, they're really enjoyable, right? There's they're just very catchy, very hooky, and the visuals are bright and sort of psychedelic, and they just sort of flood you with a lot of color, a lot of sound, a lot of sort of stimulation there. But it's a solid mix. It's a solid mix with a good, clever arrangement, good use of styles. If I'm keeping in mind what I read about the reviews, where people were kind of mixed about this one at first, but now, hearing it for the first time, it's early Red Velvet, but it's Red Velvet, right? It's just a Red Velvet, track. It's like it fits right in with most everything else that I've heard, Okay, let me see. Let me try to go through and identify some specific, maybe instrument sounds, especially. So the thing is, the vocal really had most of my attention in this, and they are, the vocal queens. They're the, this what's how they're characteristically described in terms of the quality of their vocal work. The harmonization is there. It's like it's already there. You know what I mean? I'm again being informed by the stuff that I have heard. I hear this now and I'm like, oh yeah, that's, they only have the 4 voices, right? Because there's only the 4 members at this point, but that harmonization is like you can already hear it there, right? Like later on there's another voice, and it's interesting because it just expanded on the vocal arrangements then. And it seems to me, if I'm trying to compare this, that once there is 5 members, you hear a lot more of the the Irene and Sulgi parts, right, where the harmonization is sustained, but then you also have Irene and Sulgi off doing flourishes and doing other little independent lines that are adding to the texture and adding to the sound. This was a little more streamlined, right, where everyone's sort of you have 4-part harmony. I mean, you can arrange in 4 parts, so that's probably the way that you would approach it, but it's a solid Red Velvet track. Just sound like Red Velvet to me, man. You know what I mean? Like birds.
Sometimes you gotta be bold. Just rock the world. Booyah!
See, that reminds me of Zimzalabim, right? I mean, isn't it, like in the intro to that one where it's just like, are you ready? Zimzalabim, like it has that same like energy to it. So seem now like maybe Zimzalabim was actually kind of a throwback to the earlier sort of beginning sound, maybe. I mean, of course it was a new take, a separate take, not the same thing, but it really does remind me of this. Or this reminds me of that. Yeah, so we had a lot of contrasting rhythms in that early part. It was a little closer to a rap styling, right? And so they're hanging around on the quarter note, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they start to change it up by incorporating even like the 16th note subdivisions, like the 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and. So even in that first half of what you might call the first verse, I don't know if maybe that's a pre-verse or like a build up to the verse, something like that, but a lot of good contrasting rhythms in that part, and now there's a little bit of melody also. Choreography. So a lot of compression on that vocal part lead of this pre-chorus section. When this first comes in and it starts to build up towards the chorus, they have the very that very clever, busy visual aspect already to the videos. You know what I mean? Like it's already there. So many layers, and so they're emphasizing and adding on the build-up of the pre-chorus section with applying that compression to the vocal part, and as it it's very wet with compression, and then it gets dialed down, and so the vocal part expands until you can actually hear all of the range that's in it. It's very clean. It's very clean once it's over, once the compression is off. Again, contrasting rhythms. 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, right? So lyrically, it did become more minimal with just, la 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 la, and then the happiness, but they're harmonizing in a very chorus type of delivery here. So while the lyrical content became a little bit minimalist, the actual vocal arrangement filled out and gave us a very, very full vertical aspect on this. It's solid. It's solid, dude. It's solid writing. It's solid arrangement. It sounded like Red Velvet to me from the very beginning. Those were killer lines, man. Those were like solid 16th notes all the way through. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 4, right? It all the way through. That was impressive, right? They're really impressing with the vocals from the start. That sweet harmony already. It's already there. Real good. Compression. Slowly let off of that signal. Sounds so good. Good bass. Very good bass. So it's a great bridge section. Oh, she sounds incredible, dude. Ah, okay. That's such a good vocal, man. It's so strong. It's just the delivery on it's so strong. She has an interesting register, It's not super high, but she's up towards the top of her register. And it seems like she's hitting that point right before really breaking over into using just head voice and having the higher end and maybe the falsetto end of the voice. So it's like way at the top of that sort of chest voice delivery, but it's not strained, it's full and it's healthy all throughout. It's an excellent singing, and then the way it gets mixed here, it's kind of cut on a certain note that keeps sort of looping, and there's some other production aspects that they're applying here. Definitely like the compression, because otherwise that looping cut would sound a little bit too abrasive. Oh, and then they sweep it all the way up. So sweep it all the way up and then dropping everything out and then coming back in with that bass and that kick and a little bit of that tink 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 tink. It's a little bit of a shuffle rhythm that's going on, the hits that are over in the percussion part. Yeah, I mean that's a song, a strong Red Velvet sound. It reminds me of Russian Roulette too when I reacted to Russian Roulette. Um, yeah, just that earlier type of Red Velvet sound, but it's really good. It's got all the characteristic trademarks of a Red Velvet track, especially one of these earlier ones. Um, it it's a solid mix. I know that when I was reading about the production behind that, the people who worked on the mix, um, that's why it's good. It was always going to be good. Um, and what it's informed by the sort of styles that they're using, and the production application too. It's solid. It's a solid mix, and they're as impressive on the vocal parts from day one. In other words, this is a Red Velvet track. It's as good as any of the other ones that I've heard. So I mean, and I'm just saying that because of the what I read about it, the sort of criticism. So people were like early on didn't know what to make of it. But they know now. Like everybody knows now. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a great, awesome track with a good energy, a good upbeat sort of vibe to it. It's bright, it's colorful. It's a strong 4-part harmony that they have going on. That only later on it just gets better, right? When they have 5 members, it just expands. Everything just grows, and it becomes stronger. So this is really cool, man. To go back and just see this debut sort of single. But like I said, it's all there. It's all solid, excellent, awesome Red Velvet performance and production. They had it from day one. It seemed to me like they only ever got better over time. They've only ever improved. They've only ever sounded better, looked better, performed better, had better production, had better arrangements and better writing. It just got better. That's it. But it's still pretty awesome to see the beginnings of it. The debut music video. Man, these girls, they had it from the very beginning, right? From the very beginning, they had it. They totally did. They had it. When I first heard them, I was like, oh my goodness, like, what is this? You know what I mean? This is so good. Like, this is incredible. And it's no different. This is just as good as everything else I've heard, like I said. So, goodness, it feels good to go back and listen to some more Red Velvet. I'm definitely going to. I already have like a bunch of the albums that I could find downloaded, so probably try to knock out like an album review very soon. That way I can just like listen to it and not have to try and worry about the spoilers or anything like that, But yeah, what a treat! What an absolute fun Red Velvet song mix, the whole thing. If this was a debut, I mean, they obviously were a hit, and they had it from the very beginning. So this is very cool. I'll see what else I can find that maybe when they still had like the 4 members, and I'm definitely gonna go back and listen again to some of that later stuff, some of the five member arrangement stuff, because it seemed to me like it just got richer. It was bolstered. It just became stronger, like all the other aspects of Red Velvet performance and production. They just they just they don't ever miss Red Velvet. They haven't ever missed at all.